Welcome to the Fitting Room. We start every podcast with the ritual of asking one simple question. What are you wearing today? I'm Hazel from Locondo, and each week we're going to sit down with our friends, creators, and members of the fashion community to talk about the stories behind what they wear. Today I'm joined by Miranda, and I can't wait to dive in. Would you like to say hi?
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you and chat with you. To
Thank
start,
you.
let's begin with the question at the heart of the podcast. What are you wearing today?
Okay, so today I'm wearing this baseball cap, which I really like, and I decided to pair it with this cardigan, which I don't get to use a lot because here in Medellín, where I live, it's not really that cold. So later it's been chilly, so it's fun to have this. This actually I bought earlier this year in South Korea. So it's just like one of my favorite ways to get like souvenirs from other places. And I did with some wide leg jeans. That's pretty much it. A pretty relaxed fit for today.
You look great. Like it's a really chic sweater, and I see a little like button detail.
Yeah, it's really cute. These are like little bows, which I don't normally go for like cutesy stuff, but this was so, I don't know, I just really liked it the moment I saw it. So yeah, thank you.
Do you feel like you get dressed like based on the weather or the mood of today?
It's definitely a combination of both because my city can be quite unpredictable when it comes to weather. Like it will be super chilly in the morning and then have like a scorching sun during the day. So
Mm-hmm.
it really plays with your mood and with your closet. So sometimes I'll have to change myself into a different outfit later in the day just because I can't go out dressed as planned.
Yeah.
But definitely mood is really important as well. Like if I'm
Yeah.
feeling like cutesy or maybe I just want something relaxed, then that leads the way.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. If you have to describe your style in just a few words, how would you put it?
I'd say it's eclectic and playful. I don't really think I have like a very set aesthetic. I really go between like maybe grunge to cutesy stuff, but I think that playfulness it's like a pretty common theme.
Yeah, and how would you define grunge? I feel like there's so many definitions and range for like the grunge style.
Yeah, that's true. I really reach for like very just like dark colors and things that you don't really want to look like to like put together. I always, when I think of grunge, I always refer back to Nirvana. I was like in a huge Nirvana phase back when I was like a teenager, and that really inspired like the way I dressed. So I think that, and also like some like Tumblr vibes, back when everyone wanted to
Yeah.
be like a Tumblr girly. I think a lot
Yeah.
of that as well.
Do you have a favorite song by Nirvana?
Not really. I mean, I just really wish like overall like Tumblr was back in general. Like I think it's a really good place to just find like a bit of niche inspiration.
I think it's like if we think back to like 10 years ago, the cusp of social media, there are a lot more like fashion platforms, a lot of like indie blogs and things like that. Would you feel like they play like a big part on your fashion journey? And I think that's just my way of asking or like segueing into asking you, what is your fashion journey like so far?
Yeah, I mean, Tumblr was really big for me for sure because honestly, I never thought I was like into fashion because I think that fashion has kind of always been sold to us as something that only like really girly girls like,
Hmm.
which I never really identified with. Like now I do, but maybe when I was a teenager, I was like the kind of person who wouldn't wear makeup or things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And also, like I was really surrounded by like these stereotypes of how girls should look, and like everyone, for example, in high school, like everyone starts to putting on makeup and dressing a certain way, and I just felt like maybe really didn't fit in there. And Tumblr and all like these niche sites were like my way to really escape into something that I could actually relate to. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely a lot comes from that. And also from magazines. I love magazines since forever. Like my grandma had a huge stack at home and I would just like eye each one of them. And so I was really impressed like by the images and the colors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And while I don't really think that I found like my style, I do really think that just like finding like these communities and like subcultures really helped me get a better understanding of what fashion meant to me.
Yeah.
And that's still pretty much the same today.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. What does fashion mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think fashion is a for me is a game. It's like a way of playing, not only through clothes, but also with your body. I think that it's just a way to challenge what you think of yourself. And so I really like to approach fashion that way. Like it's a game I'm playing. It's something playful. It's something meant to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what fashion means to me.
Do you feel like as you try on clothing, you try on some different like version of yourself or like different persona? Is that what it feels like?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, I think I'm a very big daydreamer, and I create all these fake scenarios in my head, and I do really think that each like a scenario in my head has like a very distinct aesthetic for it. And for example, I think that we all played with our mother's clothes when we were little, and I really enjoyed doing that just because I was able to see myself as
Mm-hmm.
someone who was like more of a grown up and like a different kind of woman.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the way I approach like every day dressing. Like sometimes like I would like to look maybe a bit more like a rock star, or maybe I just want to look this other certain way, which I think it's really fun just to explore different parts of yourself that you wouldn't normally be able to if you weren't experimenting with clothes.
Yeah, that's really well said. And I was just reading this book recently called, the book title is The World is Burnt, The World is on Fire, and We're Still Buying Shoes. One of the quotes that really stuck with me, I've been just sort of thinking about that in the past week, is fashion is ultimately a very optimistic endeavor because as we try on different clothing, we can try to push for like different idealized or aspirational versions of ourselves. And I feel like there's definitely a lot of resonance with what you just said.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great read. I'll definitely check that out. But I do think it's true. And I think that the way we see that portrayed is through all the societal changes that subcultures have done, like, like the
Mm-hmm.
punk subculture and all these different like movements that, they use clothing as a way to, as you say, reach this idealized version of, in this case, society that they want to. So I think pretty much that's what fashion enables us to do.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And getting back to your story for a bit, how did you find your style?
I don't really think I found it yet, but I do really think that, and I'm still developing that sense of what finding a personal style is, but I always come to the conclusion that it all starts from knowing yourself, but not in like the way that nowadays people want us to do, which is to just like really sit down and think about everything and be super productive, but rather like finding yourself through your hobbies and interests and the times in which
Mm-hmm.
you're not being productive, So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of inspiration for me comes through movies. I'm really a sucker for like costume design, and I really just love to see like the dissection of how each character's wardrobe reflects their story arc and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
movies for me are just like a great inspiration of what colors can be combined and textures and silhouettes, I think. And then also just observing a lot of like my personal archive. Like I really like to go through old family albums, and it's really funny because when I was younger, I would criticize my mother for like her fashion choices. But then when I go back to the family albums, I realize that the more I grow into my style, the more similarities to
Mm-hmm.
my mom's style. So I think that, just being able to revisit your own personal archive is a really great way to also see some patterns and things that you have always liked, but maybe didn't know how to express through clothes.
Yeah, that's such a rich journey, and I feel like there's so much that we can like zoom in on. Are there like a few movies that's particularly memorable, or like a character from the movies that's impacted you a lot?
Okay, so funnily enough, I love Star Wars, and
Yeah.
for me, Princess Leia's wardrobe is just like so fun and amazing. Of course, she has like a very distinct like outfit, but just like the costumes and everything, even like then the trilogy with Natalie Portman as well, like her wardrobe is amazing. And I've like in my head, I'd love to dress just like this kind of like very fantasy like characters, like very extravagant, but that's of course not very practical in real life. But then I just try to adjust in terms of the colors that I choose or the silhouettes that I choose. And lately I've been really into exploring more and more like super wide silhouettes because I do think that they allow more for play. And then of course another one. I mean, all the 90s movie I think that have like great wardrobe choices, but then as well like Marie Antoinette by Sofia Coppola. I
Yeah.
think that's a big fashion inspo for almost anyone, but I do think that the color palettes is just so rich, and I think that there's so much to take from that. And again, there's the drama and the extravagant thing that I really like, and I would like to pull to my own personal wardrobe.
Yeah, and also I would love to hear more about like thinking about like going into your personal archive and the personal like documentation, even like family history and like some clothes that's like from your family. And is there like a particular photo or childhood memory that you have that like really informed your style that you still think about?
Yeah, I mean, so as I said, I used to like criticize my mom a lot because she really likes like this very colorful and extravagant prints. So anything floral she loves, and I was the complete opposite. And I don't still wear florals. I do think that there's a lot to learn from her when it comes to color combination, which is something that I'm really into lately
Mm-hmm.
because most of my life, because I was so into grunge and like this whole like indie style, I almost always reach for like blacks and grays colors. And to me, exploring color, it's really new. And all the pictures from our album, it's her with like the most crazy patterns in her blouse.
Yeah.
And she pulls it off. And to me, it's really difficult to pull off like a complicated pattern. So that's something that I'm really trying to replicate. And it's just really cute when, I dress in a way that I know she will like. And then I go visit her and she immediately says like, that looks beautiful on you. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing something right if my mom compliments like the way I'm matching colors or patterns, because like she's the one who actually knows how to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I had like a sort of similar experience. I also just like sort of grew up, and for a while when I was a teenager, my wardrobe was just like black and white and beige and things like that for like a hot second. As I grew up a little bit, I started like just like inheriting more of my mom's pieces because she was like, okay, like these things no longer fits me. Like here you go, and they were really nice like vintage like thrift pieces. So I can't really like get rid of them, or because I would feel pretty guilty doing that. Like I think my mom last year gave me like a red, like bright red, like tomato red leather jacket that I just like it doesn't go with anything else I own. But or in the beginning I was just like, what do I do with this? But I think over time I learned to like style it or layer it with more of my stuff. But it's definitely a challenge, like acquiring that learning curve.
Yeah, definitely. And that's so cute because now that I think of it, I don't think that I've actually inherited something from my mom's that I use nowadays. Like, I think the times that she has offered me something, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't go with me. So next time that happens, I'll do as you said, as you did, and just like accept it and then try to sort it out. I do have, however, like a leather bag she sewed when she was in university, and it's like this beautiful like zebra pattern red
Mm.
leather bag. And I remember that when I was a child she had already done it. Like that bag is like 30 years
Mm-hmm.
plus, and I remember seeing it and think that was like so extravagant and noisy, but I love it and it's like one of my most precious pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really think that, as you said, there's a learning curve, and then you start appreciating a bit more like what comes from their wardrobes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like just like from looking at your outfits on the Discover page, I definitely see like a lot more color or like experimentation with like shape and silhouettes and color. And I just remember you have like this pair of pants. I just like I don't know where it's from, but I just really want it. It's just like this pair of pants with those like pattern, like some like red or like it kind of looks like tomato red like patches on it. It's so beautiful.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, these are actually denim jeans from a Colombian brand called Sitsta.
Mm.
Those were in my wish list for so long, but I was really nervous about getting them because that was like my first big, like bold attempt at trying color. I didn't
Yeah.
have any like pattern jeans or anything. And I never bought them because they didn't have a store here in my city. And I don't really like the experience of buying online. Like I really prefer to
Yeah.
just try on clothes. But they opened a store here this year and I immediately went for it. And I just loved it so much. I was like, I mean, there's no way I'm not getting this piece. And I was really nervous about it because there's always this thought of, okay, I don't think that's anything in my closet I can pair it with. But
Hmm.
as you start experimenting, you realize that there are a lot of combinations that can be possible. And I just really love it. It's so fun. Those are indeed tomatoes, and I'll get you the link for sure. They are an amazing brand, very
Yeah.
loved here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think I would just love to like hear you talk about more of like fashion industry in Colombia and like what are some emerging like trends there or like what are some of the brands you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this gets me very excited because I think that Colombia has really grown its fashion industry a lot, especially since the pandemic. Because before it was mostly just like designer brands, so they were very expensive and rarely anyone, like, people who didn't have enough could get them. But since the pandemic, we see more and more local brands emerge or grow faster. And now it's considered cool to wear local brands, which I think it's really important in an industry that's so Eurocentric.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, Sitsta is one of the brands that has grown the most. It's really colorful. Their silhouettes are amazing. And I think what's very interesting about them is that they don't come from like the capital or from a big city,
Hmm.
but they come from a like equally important city, but maybe not as mentioned, called Santander. So I think that it's really also interesting because we are seeing more brands emerging from decentralized points, which I really think that adds to the narrative of what Colombian fashion is, because for years, Colombian fashion, when you think of it, I think in the United States, it's mostly like this tropical chic or Caribbean chic, which I think that is a narrative that we're very tired of, not because it's not good. And I think that the designers that have allowed us to get so much um, like recognition overseas are the ones who have pushed that tropical chic aesthetic.
Hmm.
But it doesn't really reflect like the richness of our country. Like it's really funny because I think it was Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I don't remember if they visited Bogota like last year or in 2023, but they came dressed as if they were going to like the beach or something, like very casual.
Uh-huh.
And Bogota is a very cold city and
Yeah.
it's very dark. People don't dress with as much color, honestly.
Hmm.
I remember that people immediately said, like, I believe that, in their heads, Colombia is just like this tropical paradise
Yeah.
because that's what, people recognize us for. But
Hmm.
then they arrived to Bogota, which is like 10 degrees Celsius,
Yeah.
and it's just like not the same, right? So I think that the fashion industry here is reflecting that change in narratives that we are
Hmm.
more than just tropical.
Hmm.
So I really like to see emerging brands from other cities, like um, and I think that we are so good at so many things. Like for example, here there's a fashion brand called Patricia Mejia, which is a shoes and leather goods brand, and
Hmm.
it's so beautiful because these are not your normal shoes. Like these are very funky, big, bold shoes in such a variety of colors with embroidery, with details that are not like this minimalist wave, which I
Hmm.
think it's really telling of how people want to consume fashion nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's a brand that I'm really excited to try out. Like, I wish I could get something from there very soon. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think that there's almost anything for anyone. Like, you have jewelry, you have like tropical chic, you have like urban as well. It's a very big movement here, especially in
Hmm.
Medellín because of reggaeton.
Hmm.
So, like the urban music scene is also
Hmm.
very big, and that also influences a lot how people dress.
I remember I went to Bogota about like 3 years ago, and I was just mostly like in the city. I think I definitely see a variety of different influences. I think like there are like obviously things that feels more like touristy, Kashmir and things like that. But I think there are also just like I feel like I did a little bit of research into like thrifting or fashion there. I definitely could have done more work, but there are definitely very interesting like silhouettes and like attempts. And like I feel like just like walking on the street, there's like such a range of visual style. I saw like people wearing streetwear, like people wearing like pretty like tech wear type of stuff, or people wearing just like layering and sweater. So I feel like there's like a very interesting range.
Yeah, and I think Bogota especially is like a very rich place to go when it comes to fashion because unfortunately, I do believe that Medellin is a bit more backwards when it comes to fashion. And you don't get to see as much range in style options. Of course, there are people who dress like in very interesting and just like fascinating ways, but Bogota is definitely the place to go if you want like a full view and full scope of what Colombian fashion is about, especially
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to sartorial as well. Like there are very good seamstresses there
Mm.
who have really honed in their craft and really know how to do like amazing tailoring.
That's a great life hack. I feel like I would just like that if I ever visit, I would definitely want like a shopping list. I would get your recommendations on the places that you would go.
Yeah, for sure.
And you mentioned that in Medellin there's like a music scene that also sort of inform like the fashion choices that people make.
Yeah. So, we have reggaeton, which is maybe like the most a listened genre here in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like Karol G and Fade and like all these reggaeton singers that push like this very streetwear style. But I think that here it has really turned into something that has allowed a lot of brands to grow. For example, there's this brand that I think it's amazing called True,
Mm-hmm.
and they have just really nailed down what makes streetwear here in Medellin so good. And it's just really going back to like the very basics of the silhouette,
Mm-hmm.
which I think it's really exciting to see because I mean, there's always going to be like beauty standards and stereotypes and so, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that you really see a change between like 2010s and the 2020 on how people dress.
Yeah.
And I don't think that now people are so scared of trying out silhouettes, like big silhouettes, oversized, which I think it's pretty much a win, especially for women, because here the stereotype has always been to like wear very fitted cropped garments.
Mm-hmm.
So showing your body, which I don't think it's bad at all. I also love to show a little skin,
Yeah.
but I do think it really limits how women think they should present themselves and think of their bodies, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so what streetwear has allowed them to explore is more of like how they want their body to feel in certain silhouettes,
Mm-hmm.
which I think it's really exciting. And so here in Medellin, especially, you will find a lot of streetwear brands that offer pretty interesting propositions when it comes to silhouettes or print.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all informed by music. So I think that there's a very interesting synergy there.
I like to think about, I think like sometime when I think about my own wardrobes, I think about, okay, this is a set of clothes I can like dance in, and this is not a set of clothes I can like dance in. And I sort of tailor the situation like based on, and I feel like in general, I would love to have more stuff that I can dance in, like just like a general principle.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but it's pretty much true. And I do think that, I mean, for me personally, wearing like oversized garments, it's not something I'm usually pulled towards. Like, I don't really like an oversized t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
But just like, as you say, like the idea of being in like this flow or being able to move and not limit yourself, I do think it's also very liberating,
Mm-hmm.
which I think it's something that brands here offer a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for all the insight that you have on Columbia fashion and talking me through that. And definitely I know that you keep a blog about like Columbia fashion as well. When do you start keeping a blog about like Colombian fashion, and can you tell me a little bit more about your newsletter?
Sure. So the newsletter is called Colombian Chic. It's like a question. It actually turned a year this September, so it's been up for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I started writing it because as I was getting more into fashion and as I decided that I really just wanted to create something about it, I realized that, like the local movement here and like buying local is really big, but there's very few documentation on fashion in Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are amazing historians and communicators that have done an amazing job at keeping like some studies on how Colombian fashion has evolved, but the platforms on where to share them, it's really limited.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just noticing that people were kept on consuming local fashion, but then they don't know how it like, came to be. Or for example, if a designer decides to reference something, what are they referencing to? What techniques are they using, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I treat my newsletter as a kind of like a field note to
Yeah.
share with the world. And what I do is that anything that catches my attention on like Colombian fashion, like maybe I see a rising trend that I can tie back to some history, or even like brands that I am seeing that I'd like to highlight or whatever, that's what I write about.
Mm-hmm.
But I do it mostly for people who also want to learn about Colombian fashion, but just
Mm-hmm.
it's just too time consuming to piece it all together yourself.
Yeah.
So I really like to have like this little corner of the internet in which I can just write about what I'm most curious about, and then
Mm-hmm.
finding that there are people who are also curious about what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
it's just been really, really fun to do it.
You're a great writer. I don't read Spanish, but like all the visuals on the website, and I wish I can read it.
Thank you so much. It's so kind. I've been considering maybe uploading like English versions as well,
Mm-hmm.
but then I'm not sure. Like, I think that it's really important to create more content in Spanish to
Yeah.
document these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like someday it will come the day when I decide to put like English versions to it.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, that too. I mean, I've tried like seeing how the Google Translate option goes, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
mess. I mean, it's readable, but a lot of the nuance is lost. Yeah.
And out of curiosity, what are your thoughts on like what's the relationship between like Colombian fashion and like global fashion? Do you feel like Colombian fashion is represented like somewhat globally, or do you see like global trends also like making its way into like local fashion as well?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. So, I mean, I'll answer first your last question, which is if global trends inform local trends, and absolutely. And this is an ongoing discussion we're having here because
Mm-hmm.
we often like the people who like fashion and work in fashion here in Colombia. We are noticing that a lot of people here want to look like this old money aesthetic and like minimalist aesthetic, which is not inherently wrong, you know, if that's something you
Mm-hmm.
identify with.
Yeah.
But that a lot of it goes tied to like this rising like right wing conservative ideologies.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's just really sad to think of our country and like Latin America in general being such a rich territory when it comes to traditions and ancestry and even like indigenous communities and knowledge
Mm-hmm.
to just decide to look like something we are not.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't judge and criticize anyone who decides to dress like a minimalist, like that's your choice, but
Mm-hmm.
you'll see that most of the times people do it because they think that's the right way to look. And I
Yeah.
think that it has a lot of like this Eurocentric and like colonizer
Yeah.
idea that only anything that comes from the global
Mm-hmm.
north is what's valid and
Yeah.
what's right and like good taste.
Mm-hmm.
So while we are seeing, yes, a lot of people like dressing in this like very Eurocentric codes,
Mm-hmm.
I do think that also the local row of brands has helped to maybe balance a bit the way we see ourselves.
Yeah.
Like lately, and it's really cool because you see fashion brands here that reference like very iconic elements of our culture. Like I did a piece recently on jewelry brands that are doing like candy themed
Mm-hmm.
jewelry. And
Yeah.
most of them reference back to like Colombian candies and
Mm-hmm.
Colombian just like sweets and stuff like that, which I think it's
Mm-hmm.
a really beautiful way to see our culture through different eyes and see that
Yeah.
what we have here is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes to like global representation, I do think that Colombia has really made its place in fashion industry, like global fashion industry. But as I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, through like this tropical chic aesthetic, like Silvia Cherasi and Johanna Ortiz are like the biggest representatives of
Mm-hmm.
Colombian fashion overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And while I don't think that, you know, it's wrong at all, I do think that the conversation has really stagnated there.
Yeah.
But I've seen that as, for example, reggaeton rises in popularity in like in the United States and other countries,
Yeah.
so does like the streetwear movement. But I do
Mm.
think it will take a bit of a long time till it gets the recognition it deserves, especially because there's a lot of streetwear brands across the globe. So it's really difficult a very difficult market.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also think that people are beginning to appreciate a lot more these artisanal knowledge that we have, which I
Hmm.
think it's something really interesting because compared to maybe Europe, where the craft is just like this leather masters and all, here it comes mostly from indigenous communities.
Hmm.
So I think that that's something that as well has positioned us in the global fashion industry as the country that has really learned how to include artisanal practices and techniques into different modern brands.
Hmm.
So maybe that's where we're at. I'm not sure
Hmm.
what's going to change, but I'm seeing increasingly a lot of love for Colombian fashion. Like even in movies and TV shows, like The White Lotus has a
Hmm.
lot of Colombian brands included in the wardrobes, which I found really cool.
Hmm.
And many other like series from the States. So I think it's really interesting to see from like a costume designer perspective
Hmm.
how like our brands can fit into like a global narrative.
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much. That's super insightful. And it's just like there's just so much there. And I think you're totally right. I think fashion at the same time, like obviously it's complicated. Like the interplay or the conversation or representation as a whole, right, has like so many political implications for how things are represented or who gets credit for doing what and like who gets represented and what something gets attributed as in fashion. Like sometimes like because style is something that's so like fluid and visual, it's very hard to be like, okay, this is Colombian streetwear or this is like Malaysian streetwear and things like that. I think like in the nuances sometimes like it's very hard to parse the nuances. But I think like you're totally right. There's like a lot of like global like dominance or like normativeness on like how people should dress or like this is what make you look rich or this is something that give you like some sort of like signifiers of like status or power or class or something like that. I think all of that is obviously super present and definitely influential in like a lot of the fashion world. But yeah, I think you did a really good job in articulating that like fashion can be also something that's really like subversive. It can be something that is like decolonial. It can be something that's very like powerful, and like having passion for that, having like a lot of love for that behind it is like a very powerful force to like represent culture or like just to like have a place in the global like diaspora culture and things like that. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think it's just such an interesting topic to talk about because like recently we had like back in July we had Colombia Moda, which is like the country's fashion week,
Mm-hmm.
so to say. And I was like just attended this talk and there was someone coming from Central America, not sure which country, but they asked the speakers how Colombia managed to create like this interest among their people for local fashion because that's something that many other countries like Peru
Mm-hmm.
and Guatemala have tried to do.
Mm-hmm.
But she mentioned that it was just really difficult to make like locals want to consume local.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it really all starts from the content that we create. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, because of TikTok and Instagram and all that, we are seeing more and more content creators that are able to grow and that talk a lot about
Mm-hmm.
like local fashion. And that's how we were able to define our local fashion as cool. And so I think that boom has really also shed some light onto that colonial mindset that
Yeah.
some people can have around fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a complex dialogue to have, but I do think that the more we explore like the fashion industry here, the more
Mm-hmm.
answers we'll have to how to approach fashion.
Thank you so much for offering such like a rich and nuance and take, and I really appreciate it. And I think it's wonderful to feature that, have that in the conversation. And I would love it if more people talk about it and like just to understand like some of the colonial backgrounds of like fashion or fabrics or the supply chain and things like that. Because I think there is like a lot of learning for like a like I think like honestly for like every fashion lover to do as they navigate style and navigate all of these conversations and find their own style. I think there's also like a lot of learning to understand like where our preferences actually come from.
Yeah, definitely.
And going back a little bit into your own journey and your own style, if you look into your closet, what do you think your clothes say about you?
I think they say, and I hope that they say that I'm a very like playful, optimistic person. I do really like to reach for like very vibrant colors, like for example, yellow and red are my favorites. And I do hope that that's what my style preferences show more than.
And do you have like a favorite piece of clothing that you own?
That's difficult, isn't it? I feel like that's like asking a parent who's your favorite child, but I have so many. I mean, like my mother's bag that I mentioned before, it's definitely one of my most precious ones. And then I think that there is this beautiful pleated tulle blouse that I got also in South Korea that it's just so beautiful, like the colors and everything, and it's so difficult to style.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I like about it. I like
Yeah.
clothes that let me play with them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably one of the ones I like the most as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Thank you. And do you know what your most worn piece of cloth is?
Uh, I don't think so. I mean, it's probably jeans, honestly. Like jeans for me are like a go-to piece, staple piece. A good pair of jeans will never get old, you know? So probably that, yeah.
When people talk about getting dressed, a dichotomy or the tension they usually talk about is like getting dressed for yourself versus getting dressed for others. How do you find the balance? Do you feel like you usually dress for yourself or dress for other people?
It's really difficult, honestly, because I mean, I'd like to think that I mostly dress for myself, but then I do think that dressing for others, maybe it's also caring about creating maybe like a community, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I say that because, for example, as I've got more into like fashion, I've attended like this fashion events and talks and all, and sometimes I find that I have like pretty much nothing to wear for like a specific event.
Mm-hmm.
And for a moment, I think, oh, I'll just go dressed like as simple as possible, like in a basic tank top and jeans, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think that maybe when it comes to like this community events and connections, showing excitement for the place you're going to be, it's also a really like you can communicate that through fashion. I think it's really cute and funny when you actually put in the effort not to only look good for yourself, and I think that should be the number one rule. Like first, you make sure you feel good about it. To also think it's something that would be exciting for others to see. Really cute and cool when you can have a conversation with someone about what you're wearing, and something that would happen if you only thought of how you want to look and just took the easy way.
What's a small detail in how you dress or how you think about putting together an outfit that most people wouldn't even notice, but really matters to you?
Accessories, for sure. I think about, and I do think that I'm best in jewelry more than any other piece in my, like, jewelry is really important to me. It has to do with the fact that when I was in school, I took like these classes, beading classes. So I learned how to do a lot of like earrings and stuff. But I think accessories are for me the easiest way to show my personality. Like maybe if I'm at an event where I have to be super formal, wearing like a fun accessory for me is just like the best way to present what I am without
Mm-hmm.
maybe getting out of the dress code. And I
Yeah.
put a lot of thought into that.
Yeah. Can you talk me through some of your favorite pieces?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could get them. I recently got like this beautiful beaded Mijuki necklace. Mijuki is like a
Mm-hmm.
very like a handcrafted technique, and it is in the shape of a serpent.
Mm.
So it's really cool because it goes around your neck as if a serpent was
Oh my
like
God.
strangling you.
Yeah.
It's really cool, and I really like it because I think it adds such a like a fun touch to the outfit you're wearing. And also
Mm-hmm.
the color is like this beautiful deep green, which I think really pops.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my favorites. And then I also have like this pretty fun necklace that these are pearls, but they are not
Mm-hmm.
round, but it's like if they were pressed.
Mm.
So they look like little buttons. And I
Yeah.
also really like that one because it's just like such a, I don't know, interesting take on
Mm-hmm.
like a normal pearl necklace.
Mm-hmm.
And I really adore it. It was like one of my first jewelry finds that I invested a lot in. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really happy to have that one with me.
Yeah. Any advice for people who are sort of looking into the accessory space? I know for like some of the people in the community, like when they think about clothes, it's very like it's like big silhouettes and big color blocks and things like that. But like jewelry is very small, and I know some people struggle with like discovering different jewelry brands. Do you have like general advice, and how do you do fashion discovery on accessories?
Well, to me, material is just very important. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
people underestimate the importance of material in clothes,
Mm-hmm.
for clothes in general, but for jewelry specifically, because I know that, it can be very expensive to buy certain materials,
Yeah.
but you don't want to buy like the beautiful necklace and then have it like totally worn out and dark
Yeah.
and outdated after a few wears. I do think that taking your time to research materials and to maybe if you really want a piece, but it's expensive,
Hmm.
then just take the time to save for it. I think it's a
Yeah.
hundred times better than buying something that can't last the test of time.
How do you go about finding those pieces? Do you like find it online or offline?
I'm really bad at buying online. I really hate it.
Yeah.
And mostly because I think like, for example, jewelry is for me, it's very about how it glows, how it looks in the sunlight.
Hmm.
And so I really like the experience of going to the store and actually seeing how it shines, how it glimmers.
Yeah.
So I really like to just take my time to look at the pieces. I think that antique and thrift stores are also a great way to find amazing jewelry.
Hmm.
There's a joke I saw on Substack that was like, you either inherit jewelry or it just comes finds you at a random Sunday morning in a thrift shop, which I think is so true because I think that the most
Yeah.
beautiful pieces I have just come from blind luck of visiting like a thrift shop and finding it. So I think jewelry is just like a very special piece
Hmm.
for me to find in like these very whimsical ways.
Speaking of jewelry, I remember looking at your outfit that won like Aura Awards, and you have like a very striking pair of earrings. That was just like
Yeah.
really brought the outfit together.
Yeah, thank you. I love those as well. I bought them like 5 years ago at a thrift shop as well. But they were not like secondhand, but there was a girl who made like these origami pieces and then coated them in resin.
Mm.
So that's what they are. So they are like this beautiful bright red origami paper then glazed with resin. I
Yeah.
really, really love those.
Can you talk me through like what's your process of constructing the outfits that the Aura Award outfit? Like what's the mood of the day and what went behind like putting together the outfit?
So for that was actually like a double task because it wasn't only for like for the fit of the day, but also I
Yeah.
was asked by this other platform
Hmm.
from Argentina to maybe give them a look that had a piece of clothing that I really loved. So that
Hmm.
was my mother's bag. So I
Yeah.
built the outfit around that.
Yeah.
So I had like the bag, and then there is this Farm Rio, like very basic black midi dress, but I decided to like take some pins and then just pin it way up in one side so it would look like asymmetrical,
Hmm.
and then just given like the red a place to shine. So that's why I paired it with the earrings as well. And I
Hmm.
just really wanted to evoke a bit of what my mother would wear, like an outfit my mother would approve of, because
Yeah.
some of the things I wear she questions a lot. But I built it with thinking like, okay, what's something I could wear that my mom would love? And also the shoes, the flats. She loves pointy shoes. So I thought like, okay, this is something that my mother would love. So pairing it with the bag that she made and everything, it just like put the outfit all together.
That's so interesting. I think like it's a very interesting thought exercise to be like this is the outfit that my mom would approve of. I think it's like it's so interesting to put us in the perspective to like get dressed for ourselves, obviously, but also like to have like a different perspective, like as an
Yeah.
observer. And in general, when do you feel most like yourself in what you're wearing?
Honestly, when wearing color, like
Hmm.
for a long time, I always thought that I wasn't like this no color person because I just didn't get the combinations, and I still struggle a lot to combine colors well.
Hmm.
But I just feel so vibrant and happy, and really think it matches like my energy or whatever
Hmm.
when I wear colors, especially like red. To me, red is like the utmost representation of my spirit.
Hmm.
I think because it's so vibrant and not easy to ignore at all. And I do really consider myself like this person that's just like very, like I really want you to notice I'm there for you and I'm just like very approachable.
Hmm.
I do also think that I'm really shy, so I think that also wearing colors for me is a way to maybe not look. I have a resting bitch face, so to me, wearing color is a way to avoid scaring people off
Yeah.
because I know that if I was like in total black, maybe then the story would be very different. But color makes me a bit more approachable.
It's so interesting, like how we dress to be like approachable. I remember having like a conversation with Yan, which is like the first time I heard about someone doing something like that. And Yan was like, everything that he owns like needs to be either like it needs to be like long sleeve or like over his elbows. And he's just like, this makes me feel like a lot more approachable.
Yeah, I do think it's really interesting to think of it that way. Definitely, clothes say a lot about us, and maybe we're not even able to speak the language of clothes that much. Like, I wouldn't guess for a second that having long sleeves would make me more approachable.
Mm-hmm.
But, like hearing it now, it does make a bit of sense, I think, because of like the coziness, maybe. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
It just,
Yeah.
it's a very hidden language, I think, just like the language of flowers. I think that fashion is a language that we have to constantly learn to speak.
We're nearing the end of our podcast and would just love to get your like general advice for people. If someone is still trying to figure out their style, what advice would you give them?
Definitely look into your family history and your own references. Take a look at the things you like, the things you like to watch, the things you like to read. There's a lot of inspiration to pull from your life experience rather than just looking outside and waiting for someone else's life experience to inspire you most of the time.
Thank you so much. That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. And that's it for today's episode of The Fitting Room. At the end of every episode, we like to give a little spotlight back to our guests. So where can people find more of your work or keep up with you?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I mean, thanks for having me. I had so much fun today. You can find me at Substack as Colombian Chic. Of course, my Substack is Spanish only. Google Translate is available. Other than that, you can also follow me on Instagram at Miranda with double A, low bar. Luna. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, thank you. I'll make sure to put both of them in the description below. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your style journey.
Thank you for having me. Have so much fun.